I don't like to interrupt the interviews, so here's a quick message before we get started. Do you organize conferences or trade shows? What if you could create fully branded name badges with unique QR codes in only 2 clicks, without a complex and expensive badge printing process that also includes on-site badging? What if your sponsors and exhibitors could download a smartphone app to scan badges and capture leads? No rented hardware or expensive on-site support, and real-time leads ready for import into their CRM systems. That's Curious. To learn more about the Curious smartphone-based lead retrieval, attendance tracking, and badging solutions, visit snapcapture.net. Welcome to the Event Tech Podcast, live coverage of Plannertech 2013 here in downtown New York in the Convene Meeting Center at 32 Old Slip. And I just love to say that because I've never heard of a place called 32 Old Slip.
It's like a hidden street.
It is, and I feel like I'm in a Harry Potter episode. And joining me is Deborah Pannell, the founder of Project Mavens.
Hey, John.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
So you sitting here, was a fortunate thing. Number one, because you came and spoke up, and I'm glad you did that. But also because you were doing something fascinating here at Plannertech that I thought our audience should know about. And it involves $400,000 in fake money, of course.
Yeah.
What was that all about?
Well, Liz King and I know each other from the event planning world. And so I knew that I wanted to, we had been talking about ways that I might be able to get involved in Plannertech. I used to work with a company called Event Twist, which is an online directory for event venues. Dwayne Lawrence.
Dwayne, okay.
Yeah, Dwayne's great. And so I'm actually now on my own with my own company, Project Mavens, which I'll tell you a little bit about after. But mostly I do a lot of writing. That's my strong suit, writing and communications. And so I had talked to Liz about this idea. I said, you've got this conference that's all about tech. What if we did something that would bring in the more analog element, the human element, the sort of the flip side of the tech that kind of balances out the underpinnings of what we're trying to do here, which is build relationships with people and communicate and connect. And I said, I have this idea that we could do something like that. And so I have this game that we've played at parties. It's actually a thing that my boyfriend likes to do called Christmas in July, which is basically where he asks all his guests to come to this barbecue and bring a gift. That gift like from Christmas that you really don't want and you can't even re-gift it. You wrap it, you bring it, and then you put that in a pile. And during the party, the whole idea is you want to get to know people who are not your usual friends. You usually come to a party with your little crew and you kind of hang out. So his idea is he wanted people to mix. And so he would reward people with Monopoly money for going around and meeting other people and introducing yourself and finding out stuff about them. And then at the end of the party, you have all this Monopoly money and you bid on these prizes. Well, in that situation, it's kind of a bunch of junk, but it's really fun, and you'd be surprised how excited and competitive people get bidding on these prizes.
Oh, I can imagine. You get some grown-ups in a room with a few adult beverages, and suddenly things get all competitive.
That's right. It's the end of the party. So anyway, I had this idea that maybe we could build on that and do something along those lines, because the whole idea is in any kind of business, look, there's a room full of very qualified event planners here. How do you choose which one you're going to want to work with? You pick the one that you get along with, that you want to spend the next 3 months working on a project with. So the idea is to really connect on that human level, on that personal level. So we thought, why don't we try to figure out a game where people could do that? So we adapted this Christmas in July concept to Plannertech, where we have prizes that are donated from some of the tech companies. And, we developed a thing where we have these techsy bucks, because techsy is the
hashtag. Here. It's techsytalks.
And so what we did is we said, listen, for every person that you introduce yourself to and find some stuff out about, we'll reward you with some money. At the end of the day, we'll let you bid on these prizes. And it's been really fun. It was a little slow getting people into the spirit of things, but we did something kind of like the Federal Reserve. We just printed a whole lot of money and threw it out into circulation, and just kind of threw it out there. And so hopefully now we're going to do the auction a little bit later. And it's just fun. It's a crowd loosener, and I've been finding out some really funny things about people.
Give me one example.
Well, let's see. I found out.
You don't have to mention names, by the way.
No, I won't remember the names, so that's okay. One woman really likes to go on cruises a lot, and then there's another woman that she met who gets seasick. She gets motion sickness, so clearly they weren't going to go traveling together. And then I found out about this one guy told me he met this woman who is really into mixed race guys, and that was like her thing, and he thought that was really fabulous. So we've been having some fun. Some dog people, pugs and Shih Tzus.
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah, I found out about some of that. But mostly, I think it's interesting. People like to get to know each other beyond just what their work is. It's sort of like when you go to college and everyone's like, "What's your major?" You want to get past that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's kind of what we were trying to do. So that was the purpose of today.
Very cool. But now, what does this have to do with everything else that you do?
Well, like I said, I'm basically a writer. But in terms of my experience in the event world, I come from this event tech company. But then before that, I used to do event production, and I was involved in the actual the tech, the hard tech, the real life, the analog tech. But my role was always client communications, event coordinator. So I was always about communications, and it's all about building relationships. The writing that I do now, I blog a lot. For quite a while, I was blogging for under30ceo.com, interviewing young entrepreneurs. Sure. I blog for a few other sites. I have my own site, my own blog, and I do some creative writing, fiction, and things of that sort. But basically, it's all about connecting with people. Anytime you're writing, even if it's creative writing, you want to connect with your readers. And when you're writing for business, you're trying to connect with your market. You're trying to connect with clients. Even inside businesses, if it's, I used to manage a small business for many years, a holistic health practice. You have to, communicate with patients, with staff. It's all about building relationships. And so the writing is in service of that. Any client that I work with, and, we call the company Project Mavens, because I was Project Maven on Twitter, so I built a company around my identity. And, it's just, I work with a lot of different clients in the event space and outside. And any writing that I do, I work with a literary partner. Her name is Lillian Ann Slagaki, very published and very accomplished and well-known literary writer. We try to deliver on writing and editing towards a real targeted purpose. And we really try to get into strategic, meeting strategic goals, and whether it's branding or PR or, whatever it is, it's really all about making those human connections. So the game here was just like a fun thing to do, like a fun illustration of the hard principles that we're about.
Exactly, to your point. It's all those things that you write about or that you do every day, through communication. Yeah. And you just put some rules around it and some fake money, and everybody had lost.
Yeah,
that's great.
Exactly.
Now, you have a book coming out, don't you?
Well, I do. It's not a book that I wrote. It's a book that I'm publishing with my partner Lillian.
Okay.
Our Project Mavens, we like to say that we have a digital imprint called Blue Violet Press. We like to call it a Project Mavens production because it's all like putting on a show to us, and it's all about that. And we have a book that we are releasing in September. It's called One With All of Thee, and it's a book that is about. It's written by a woman named Celine Koropchak, and she's somebody who has a channel. She's a channel, I guess, is one way you could put it. But she's got a connection to some divine voices that have been speaking through her all of her life. And kind of there was that book Michael Speaks, I think, years ago, kind of along those lines. But I came upon her because I read her blog, and she's got this sort of basic spiritual approach that's about look, we all have the divine within us. We all have the ability to be connected to things things greater than ourselves. And that's about as far as it goes. It's non-denominational, it's not religious, it's not culty, it's just sort of this common sense stuff that makes you feel like, oh, okay, I'm going to be all right. Reassuring, that kind of thing. And I read it and I said, this is really good stuff. It's hitting me, it's speaking to me. I want to shepherd this book out there, It's not the usual stuff. It's not the thing that I would normally, it's not anything I would write myself. But I thought, I've had my experience with New Age culture and all this stuff, and there's a lot of hacks out there, and a lot of people who would think of themselves as, I don't know, like they get culty, I guess is the only way I can think about it. And this is just some genuine good stuff. And I said, she had reached out to me and said, would you give me a quote? And I said, could I write the introduction to your book? And that kind of morphed into us editing it and making it the first title on our imprint. And so, one of the things that we've been doing that's been really interesting is writing articles about it, delivering some really robust and original content in the way of articles about not just the book, but putting it in the context of other sacred texts or other popular self-help books, spiritual self-help books, and putting those articles out there, getting that press out there, we're using it kind of as a laboratory to test this theory of putting out really good, solid, original content about some project or something that you're doing, and then using that as a platform to engage other people. Using the sort of the content that you develop to promote the book or the project as an engagement tool, and because we're both writers and editors, the stuff that we're writing, it's not sales stuff. It's stuff that's interesting to us that we think is compelling in its own right, and it's a way to sort of further a brand in a lateral way that we think is pretty interesting. And it's definitely going to have a certain niche audience.
Sure.
But we think it's a good solid niche, and it could be broad. There's a lot of people who could use some reassurance and some feeling like, yeah, you're not in this up by yourself. There's some support behind you.
That's great. When does it come out?
September 15th.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Well, I think we'll leave it there, Deborah, because we have a line. We actually have a line of guests. Can you believe
amazing.
that? Amazing.
Not surprising, though.
Oh,
Not surprising.
Thank you. If anyone wants to contact you, thank you for joining us today. How can they do that?
Absolutely. Well, I'm on Twitter at Project Maven.
Okay.
And they can come visit our website at projectmavens.com. And then there's a lot of, you can connect with me, connect the dots through that. You can also email me at deborah.pannell@gmail.com.
Okay.
Those are the three main ways. If you can't reach me through one of those channels, something's wrong.
So you need help, yes.
And someone needs help, or something's down, because I'm always there.
All right. Thank you, Deborah. We appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
This has been the Eventech podcast live coverage of Plannertech 2013 in New York City. Thanks for joining us.